everyone, and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to be showing you all how I set up my main spreads for November, which include my cover page, monthly calendar, and all of my weekly spreads. If you want to see a specific spread, then be sure to check out the timestamps in the description so you can jump to your desired spread. So for my monthly header, I decided to use a simple all uppercase font where I applied a little more pressure on the downstroke, similar to how you would write out calligraphy. And to add a bit more to it, I made an easy gradient by taking the same marker and going over just the top half of each letter a second time. You could also easily reverse this gradient and put the second coat over the bottom half of the letters instead if you wanted to. And then for my theme, I finally decided on a simple vine theme and just decorated all around my monthly header, randomly alternating between two different shades of a dusty green color. I chose two colors for this theme to give it a little more dimension because I felt that only using one color would make it look a little too boring with all that is going on. I don't know why, but it took me so much longer this time to figure out what theme I wanted to do for November. I can usually land on a theme in a day or two, but it took me almost 2 weeks to decide on one this time because pretty much nothing was feeling right to me. I'm super happy I waited it out though because I really love how this theme turned out. It's super easy to draw and decorate with, but I will say it took me extra long to draw these spreads with this theme. It probably took me double the time because I added more doodles than I normally would. And then for the quote page on the other side of the cover, I used the quote, "You will always harvest what you plant." I was looking up some fall-inspired quotes for this page, and I loved this one so much because it reminds you that you will always get what you put out. So always try to spread positivity and kindness whenever you can. And then I also decorated around the quote with a few small vines. I didn't want to do too much to this side since I pretty much completely covered the other page, so I made sure to leave a good amount of white space on this side to balance them out. For this month, I wanted to try something a little bit different for my calendar spread. So instead of closing off every box for each day, I left all of the rows open. I like how this layout gives the spread a more open and airy feel, and it doesn't make me think that I won't have enough space to write my monthly schedule. I always find it hard to fit everything into each day when I have a more boxy layout, so I'm hoping this one will work better for me this time. And then I wrote out the days in a simple calligraphy to kind of have a contrast with my monthly header. I didn't put any color over the days either because the header and doodles I put around the spread already brought so much green to it that I didn't think it needed any more color there. It also helped to make the days of the week stand out a bit more because if they were colored, then they would have gotten lost into the background. And then just like my cover page, I filled in all of the empty space around the calendar with vines. I wanted to fill in all of the empty space for this one because the calendar itself is already so empty that if I had only done a little bit of doodling around the calendar, then this entire spread would have looked plain and unfinished. And to finish off my monthly calendar, I colored over all of the numbers for the days, alternating between the two green colors. I decided to color in the numbers because I didn't want them getting lost into the spread when I started to write out my plans for the month. So as you can tell from the title of this video, I decided to challenge myself and use all new weekly spreads for November. I've been using the same few spreads for the last couple of months, and I was starting to get a little bored of them. So if I was bored of them, then I assumed you all were also bored of seeing them as well. But for this first weekly spread, I decided to use a simple single-lined box for each day and organize them towards the bottom half of the spread. And to mix things up a bit, I put the daily headers on the side of the boxes instead of the top like I normally would. It was such a simple change, but it made a huge difference in how this spread turned out, and I actually really love it. And to give a little extra life to my daily sections, I alternated my two theme colors to highlight the day of the week. Then I just filled in the empty space at the top of the spread with some vines, randomly alternating between long and short vines, as well as alternating between my theme colors. I'm going to be honest with you guys, because making all new spreads was not easy for me. I got so used to using the same few spreads that it was so hard for me to come up with some new ones, but I did it for you guys, and I really like how these turned out. But I think I redid each spread about 3 times because I just couldn't get them to look right for some reason. Something about them would always look a little bit off, so it took about 3 times as long as it normally would for me to map out these spreads. But I eventually got them to a point where I was happy enough with them, so it was all worth it in the end. And now I get to give you all some new layout ideas for your own journals as well. Out of all of the weekly spreads I made for this month, I think this one might be my least favorite. I don't hate it, but it just turned out to be more boring than how I pictured it in my head. I'm not mad about it either, because it was already hard enough to think of just one new weekly layout, and I was able to think of new ones for all 4 spreads, so I'm still proud of myself. Let me know in the comments which weekly spread is your favorite, because I think either the first or last layout might be my favorite for this month. But as you can tell for this spread, I just made simple box headers for each day and left a good amount of space underneath them so that I'll be able to fit in all of my daily tasks. I haven't been able to fit in all of my tasks in my spreads lately, so this time I made sure to leave extra space for each day. Is it just me, or is anyone else getting busier each week? I feel like my life can't get any busier, and then I'm proven wrong every time a new week starts. I can still get pretty much everything done, so I guess it's not too bad just yet. And then for my daily headers, I just colored them in by alternating between the 2 green colors I'm using for this theme. And lastly, I decorated only the bottom right half of the spread with my vine doodles in a similar manner as all of my previous spreads. Because I left so much room for my daily boxes, I didn't have any more space for drawing my theme other than this small area on the bottom right. This third spread is super exciting to me because it is my first Dutch door spread. I've never made one before now, so I didn't know how it would turn out, but I think I'm liking it so far. To make a Dutch door spread, all you have to do is use 4 pages instead of 2 and cut the middle page in half to make a sort of half spread. And then just organize all of your daily boxes to the middle of your spread, putting 2 days on each page. Putting all of your days in the center is what makes the Dutch door functional, because when you flip over that half page, you'll cover some days while showing others depending on what days you want to see at the time. The Dutch door spread is also super functional for people who have really busy days, because you can make each daily box bigger than any normal spread. With having the daily boxes in the middle, you'll then put the monthly header and any other stuff you want to be able to see every day on the outsides of the spread. You could add a main to-do list, goals, weekly trackers, or just doodles to match your theme. And just as I have done for all my weekly spreads, I colored in the daily banners by alternating between my theme colors. As you saw before, I put my monthly header on the far left side of the spread, so I decided to just fill in the far right side with vines in a similar way as I did in all my previous spreads. Like I said earlier, you can also add things other than doodles to the outsides depending on what you like to use in your weekly spreads. But because I put all of my main aspects of this spread on the outside, it will look exactly the same no matter which way I move the Dutch door. For my last weekly spread, I decided to go with a more open layout like in my second weekly spread. I like to alternate between boxy and open layouts as much as I can so each spread feels different from each other. I just feel that they can look too similar if I have two open or boxy spreads back to back. I like to keep things different enough so that I will still feel motivated to use my journal, because if spreads start to get too boring for me, I won't use my journal as much. Let me know in the comments if you feel the same way or if you like to use the same layouts for every spread. But for this weekly layout, I used a flag to hold the number for each day and then wrote the day of the week in a simple cursive next to the flag. And I decided to only color in the flags and not the days of the week because I felt that it would have been a little bit too much color concentrated in one little area if I put color on both of them. And just like my other spreads, I filled in the empty space at the bottom of the spread with vines to keep up with my theme. But that is all for my November plan with me. If you want to see what I did for my other November spreads, then be sure to follow me on Instagram. I'll go ahead and leave a link in the description below to my page. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and keep on watching if you want to see my November flip through.